Now, I'm not saying One Piece cured me of some terrible disease or anything like that, but it succeeded in accomplishing something that I thought was no longer possible. Yo, it's me, Mr. Ubiquitous. I'm into all kinds of stuff. It's actually rather ridiculous, but in this video, I'll be talking about one of my favorite anime and manga, One Piece. Also, instead of using clips and screenshots from the anime itself, like most other YouTubers, I'm using footage of me drawing some of the characters from the show, just to mix it up, get in some drawing practice. You know, the old one stone and two birds sort of thing. Let's just jump into it. Every one of us has our favorite piece of media that entertains, inspires, and impacts us in such a fundamental way that it literally changes our course of life in some way, whether it's big or small. It does it in such a significant way that it makes us the person who we are today. And as we're living in an era with such an abundance of media choices, we come to discover not just one or two, but several books, TV shows, movies, video games, etc. that become an important part of our development as individual human beings. Unfortunately, for some people, usually with some pre-existing negative tendencies, it can become something toxic, but just like everything else in life, there's a light and a dark side to everything. I won't be getting into the details of dark side of the fandoms in this video. That's a topic for another time. In this video, I'm only talking about what a positive and powerful impression One Piece has left on me. As a person who has consumed quite a bit of media over his lifetime, I never expected to be filled with such childlike joy and wonderment again. Like, I grew up with plenty of great and not so great shows, some who stood the test of time, some not so much, and those that did still bring me back to how I felt when I watched them for the first time. From Batman the Animated Series, Spider-Man the Animated Series, X-Men the Animated Series, Justice League, Batman Beyond, to the last show that really hit that spot for me, Young Justice back in 2010s. But after Young Justice, nothing really came close to scratching that itch, that unique sense of awe and inspiration that a well-told story with great characters can evoke in a person. There's a reason why we have been telling stories for thousands of years as a species. It may not be on some food pyramid, but it is important and it serves as food for the soul, or at least something close to it. But back when all the cool kids were watching anime, I was still too attached to my Western superheroes to care. When my younger cousins would talk about Dragon Ball, I would take a huge dump on it and anime in general, because I was a snot-nosed, all-know-it-all teenager who was too cool for some dumb Japanimation. That's what I used to call it. I could go into my backstory about how I went from borderline hating anime to becoming an actual Blu-ray manga collecting fan, but that's for another video. This video is about appreciating one of the best pieces of entertainment ever created, in my opinion. One Piece, written and drawn by Ichiro Oda, is the longest running manga in anime about a young boy who aspires to become the king of the pirates. And I will try my best to stay away from any significant spoilers, but if you're too averse to spoilers, just add this video to your watch later list and come back once you're caught up on all 900 plus episodes. Anyway, basically, One Piece has accomplished in creating a world full of hundreds of compelling and significant characters and such a rich mythology, the likes of which are fairly few and far between, at least in my limited experience. I personally liken it to what Tolkien did with Lord of the Rings and what George R.R. Martin has done with Song of Fire and Ice, aka Game of Thrones. But at the same time, I can't guarantee that the fans of those examples will necessarily find One Piece just as entertaining and satisfying, mostly because of the medium differences. If you're not a fan of animation, especially Japanese anime, you might have trouble adjusting to all the shorthands and the tropes that come with this specific genre. I don't know if I would have even given One Piece a chance myself had I not been watching anime for about a year and change beforehand and gotten familiar with the genre myself. And that's not even even the number one on the list of things that keep people from watching this anime. It's the sheer amount of episodes that people find intimidating, and personally, I don't know if I would have given it a chance myself had it not been for the pandemic lockdowns. But I'm glad I did, because it is such a great story, both in terms of its size and the sheer amount of creativity and effort it took on Oda's part. Most shows and films take place in one city or a country, but this story takes place all around the world, which is quite an undertaking for a writer and an artist. And while it's not an exact one-to-one copy of our world, some of the places our characters visit are inspired by the real world. But also, the medium itself lends itself to stretching and squashing the bounds of reality in such creative ways that leave you in awe. I don't know if Oda knew what he was in for when he first started writing a manga that takes place in a world where the possibilities are literally endless. I mean, once you're out on the sea, that's open water. Like, you can run into anything and everything, and instead of trying to make a bottle manga about pirates, like sticking to one island or something, Oda goes as far out as he can and then some. He leaves no stone unturned when it comes to sea adventures, incorporating everything from heavy topics like slave trade and prejudice to some light mythologies like an all-women island and an all-giants island and even an all-tiny people island. And that's just me scratching the surface of this world. The amount of creativity required to create such an intricate world is no short of genius. And to some folks watching this, I may be coming across as some super fan going on and on about his favorite show. Let me assure you, there are far bigger fans of One Piece than me. I'm just trying to convey the amount of creative effort it takes to create such a detailed world with through lines and hundreds of unique and interesting characters, and that's just the stuff that makes the cut. Like, we don't even see the stuff that's left on the metaphorical cutting room floor. Each significant character most likely had several iterations before the final one. Now think about all the iterations of all the hundreds of characters had, not to mention the several rough drafts each script had. And then there's all the details that goes into every island we visit. And there's a lot of islands. That is a lot of work. And to think that this story has been going on for this long without losing any steam is no short of a miracle. I'm on my second viewing of the show, and I appreciate it more with each episode I watch. Every setup is paid off in a unique and surprising way. After all, it is a shonen anime. Our protagonist will overcome every obstacle. That is a given that does turn some people off, and it might have done the same for me, but Oda manages to keep the story fresh by introducing new settings and themes and threads the needle of the story in a way that even the predictable ends up taking an unpredictable route to its destination. And so far, I haven't said anything new. Fans of the series have and continue to sing praises of it, and I'm sure they'll be doing it long after I'm gone. But as a creative person, I'm in absolute awe of the size and the number of different flavors in this piece of art. Don't get me wrong, I didn't just fall in love with it right out of the gate. Like, it took me a handful of episodes to get me going, which may be one too many for some folks, but for me at least, I'm looking at it as a piece of entertainment as well as trying to glean at the writer and artist's thought process behind their decisions. Like, where are the strings and how are they being pulled? And if you pay attention to any story, you can kind of start seeing patterns and structures. The trick is to make them not seem like formulaic, and Oda is very good at that. And I've been trying not to just tell you guys the synopsis of the entire story. I'm sure most of you already know that. I'm just expressing my love for what has become one of my favorite pieces of literature, which is kind of like making new friends after a certain age. It's not that easy, at least for me it isn't. There are definitely some things in the show that may put some people off. I would suggest that these folks look at it as a show made for young boys, because that's what shonen means, and this is a shonen manga/anime. You can really see the sense of wonder and imagination and adventure Oda has infused into One Piece. A lot of things don't make sense if you think about them too logically, unlike a young boy. But in the world Oda has created and the rules and conditions he has established, everything works for the most part. The fact that there's only a handful of things that make me go, come on, really? In a show with over 900 episodes is no easy feat. For the most part, everything fits. You just need to ease up on your cynicism and let the stories and the characters take you places. So far, I've talked quite a bit about the story and the world building, but let's not forget about what a unique look this anime/manga has. It's not quite the typical look you might associate with an anime at first glance, at least I didn't. But Oda's unique style makes it stand out in the best way when you look at the hundreds of characters he's created in his unique signature style. His style may look cartoony, but I personally like how different it is. There is so much variety in his character designs. He really takes advantage of the visual medium and the genre by not putting any limitations on himself. There's all sorts of weird characters, some that even I think are maybe a little much at times, but that's just part of pushing the envelope. When you're only limited by your imagination and your imagination is limitless, you're going to create some weird stuff. Case in point, a dog that's also a cannon who shoots exploding baseballs out of his mouth. That's all I'm gonna say about that. There's not much else to say except if you haven't seen the show, give it a shot. Maybe you'll like it, maybe you won't. But if you do, you're in for a ride. A very fun, emotional, inspiring, creative, spectacular ride. Just my thoughts and feelings about One Piece. Let me know yours in the comments below. And if you like the video, like it and share it, subscribe for future videos, hit the notification bell and all that good stuff. Check out my links in the description if you'd like to follow and support me on social media. I'm most active on Twitter. It's mostly art, cute animals and bad jokes, so follow me there if you're interested. Also, I do some drawing and video game streams on Twitch every now and then, so come hang out. That's it for this one, and I'll see you armadillos in the next video.